Tell me, dear friends, do you know what the 6,000-year-old Lord of Geo, Rex Lapis, has in common with this goofy little nigga named Albert?
I must keep searching for Barbasama for now.
They both share a weakness, a curse even, that affects them both equally despite the obvious. Due to the fact that they are both beholden to the memory repository that is Irminsul, they and nearly everyone else in Teyvat are unreliable narrators. Irminsul, for those unaware, is an ancient tree in Teyvat that grows upside down and contains all the world's memories. When it is altered, so too are the inhabitants of Teyvat. Their recollection of events becomes flawed and they all become unreliable narrators, as they no longer know the unadulterated truth of this world. The only people not affected by this that we know of so far are the Descenders, Alice, and Nicole, and I don't quite think people understand how important this is. This could mean everything we've ever heard or read about in regards to Teyvat's history is a lie, and that's nearly everything. The gods destroying Conria, the creation of the Gnosis, hell, even the winner of the war between the Second Who Came and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. The reality of each of these situations could be vastly different from what we have come to know, because all of our information regarding these incidents came from someone or something that's from Teyvat. The idea that the gods destroyed Conria was told to us from Dainsleif by memory.
Later events unfolded just as you remember. It was all destroyed by gods.
You mean that?
500 years ago, the gods descended upon the world and brought desolation to Kanya. The pride of humankind was uprooted and crushed, like a weed removed from the garden of the gods.
The creation of the Gnosis was told to us from Skirk by memory.
Of course. How could I forget? You should have the remains of the third Descender on your person, yes?
Remains? I've never heard of any such thing.
According to your parlance, I believe it may be called a gnosis.
And the war between Fanes and the Second Who Came was detailed in a book that originates from Teyvat. It's these exact mediums that we were told not to trust by Nicole.
History does not change easily, but human hearts can. Believe your own eyes. Only that which you see is true. What is unseen is but an illusion.
Believe only your own eyes. Anything unseen is an illusion. So in taking her words to heart, everything that happened prior to our arrival into that is not to be trusted because it is an illusion and its contents may have already been altered in Irminsul. And we'll never know if there has been an alteration if we keep interacting with people from Teyvat because they don't know what they don't know. Different people may be responsible for different actions in this new timeline. So for example, after Scarmouche erased himself from history, he could no longer be the person behind the fall of the Raiden Gokuden. The original story goes as such. Following the Tatarasuna incident, Scarmouche wished to take revenge on the Bladesmiths, so he planned to sabotage the Raiden Gokuden by tampering with a diagram of the blade the Raiden Shogun tasked the clans with making. It worked, and after producing defective blade after defective blade, the Bladesmiths fled Inazuma fearing punishment from the Raiden Shogun. The Yoshinori and Kamisato clans realized their blueprints had been messed with and chased after the Bladesmiths before being intercepted by Scarmouche, who had swiftly dispatched the two clans. Following this, both the Yoshinori and Kamisato clans agreed to cover up the whole situation. This is the original story, however it would change drastically following Scarmouche erasing himself from history. Now the story goes as such. When Niwa ran into the furnace, he went in with an unnamed blacksmith this time. Both died, but the blacksmith had a son, who when grown came to hate the Raiden Shogun for her uncaring attitude regarding his father's death. As such, this hatred would continue for generations until one day the head of the clan decided to slaughter all other blacksmiths so as to cause the fall of the Raiden Gokuden. He would eliminate 3 arts before being killed by the Kaedahara and Kamisato clans. So as you can see, an entirely new villain was created for the purposes of fulfilling the role of causing the fall of the Raiden Gokuden, and the only person who knows this is the Traveler. So think back to Teyvat's history and the villains that have existed. Did they really do what history says they did? Did Nibelung really bring over forbidden knowledge? Did the gods really flatten Conria? Was there ever even a war between the Primordial One and the Second Who Came? We need to accept that until someone who verifiably is not affected by Irminsul comes along that witnessed these events tells us what actually happened, our understanding of these important events in Teyvat's history is severely limited. And for some of these incidents, the list of people who can verify what actually happened shrinks the further back you go, because Irminsul may have already been altered before they actually came to Teyvat or been born. So for instance, maybe someone like Alice can tell us what truly happened during the Conrian Cataclysm, as she was alive during that time and may have witnessed it. But I doubt she could tell us about the war between the first and second who came, as she might not have witnessed it. Going further back, quite literally the only person who can tell us about the world prior to the arrival of the second who came is Phanes, if he's still alive. Furthermore, alterations of Irminsul can also have ramifications on people's identity. After Greater Lord Rukkhadevata was erased from history, Nahida came to believe she had always been Sumeru's Dendro Archon, and so did the other Archons.
I'm led to believe that long, long ago, the 7 Archons used to stay in regular contact with each other. I'm a bit of a special case though, so I don't have any memory of that time. Now that things have settled down in Sumeru, I think it's about time I made contact with them again. You're on familiar terms with some of them, right? Would you mind introducing me?
The first thing you think of when you hear Dendro Archon is her power over dreams. Her dreams are akin to my ballads, full of emotion and imagination. It goes without saying that we get along really well.
Venti has never met Boor because she was born after the Cataclysm. When we take this aspect of Irminsul into account, we can question everyone's titles, but one stands head and shoulders above the rest. That is, the unreasonably attractive Sustainer of Heavenly Principles.
Who are you? The Sustainer of Heavenly Principles. The arrogation of mankind ends now.
While we know she believes she's the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, is that really her role? What is her connection to the heavens? Has someone changed Irminsul to make her believe that? The whole of Irminsul issue is a weird one due to the potential ramifications it has on how Genshin Impact tells its story. But just how many times will the devs actually invoke it, and will this truth of the world have anything to do with why the Sibiling has seemingly taken such a radical approach to this world? Who knows, but it'll be interesting to see moving forward how or even if they utilize Irminsul again, because, like I've been saying this whole video, this tree is fucking dangerous, man, and I don't think people quite get why. So for instance, it could be Celestia was the reason for the Cataclysm 500 years ago, but they can't take blame for that, so they threw it onto Conria by altering Irminsul. Something like this may have happened, which explains why the Sibiling is so intent on overthrowing Celestia. Celestia's truth of this world could be something they did to ruin it, not by creating it. But if they control Irminsul, then they control the entire narrative, and if the truth of this world is something dark that they have written out of Irminsul, that could explain why the Sibiling has joined the Abyss to take such a radical approach to overthrow them. Irminsul is in essence the tool that the government in 1984 used to alter history. However, if it's this powerful, why is it being guarded by one of the puppets of Celestia rather than Celestia themselves? Why can seemingly any person who has the power of a god go in and alter Celestia? Not all gods like Celestia, and Irminsul has seemingly existed since the dawn of time into that. So if any god could willy-nilly go in and change Irminsul, wouldn't that have major ramifications on how Teyvat is run? I guess not, because they just got one of their puppets controlling it. And that shit's already been fucked with twice since we got here, and that happened in the span of like 3 months. Nope. 3 times. I completely forgot. Someone is fucking with the Traveler Sibiling's fate. Like, what's going on here? It's just free reigns on Irminsul. However, I do wonder if the Traveler Sibling is affected by changes in Irminsul, because we know they don't come from this world, but they're seemingly connected to it. Because if we end up linking with the Sibiling one day and we find out that their memory is also being fucked with, then I don't know. I tried to give them an out with the whole Celestia was responsible for the Cataclysm and falsely put the blame on Conria, but if that isn't the truth and they don't actually know what happened, then this whole thing is just chalked. However, there does seem to be a workaround, as somehow Nicole and Alice don't seem to be affected by Irminsul changes, which is weird considering they should be from Teyvats, barring they are some sort of descender that we don't know about yet. But we'll see, man. The Hex and Zirkel are a scary, powerful bunch, and Irminsul is an interesting, I wouldn't say literary device, but I mean, that's pretty much what it is. We'll see what eventually happens with all these colliding factors one day. One day, guys. The Genshin Impact is almost done, almost.